Well, good morning, folks. This is Granny with Granny and Grumpy's Homestead. The other day, I made a video about answers to prayer, and it seems that everybody likes this video that has answers to prayer. So I thought that I would tell you some more answers to prayer and some God and angel stories throughout our time together sometimes. So this morning, I wanted to tell you about a prayer that was answered many, many years ago. I make kidney stones really, really bad. Well, anyway, we found out what was causing them and haven't had so many in the last few years. And so, but I was in my 30s and I was working. I was working that day. My kids were in school, and so I had gone to work. I was driving along the road, and all of a sudden I started having a kidney stone attack. And it felt like it was going to kill me. Now, I don't know if any of y'all have ever experienced something like that, but it's excruciating. And so I decided that the only thing I could do was to speed up the best I could, because en route to going to the hospital, there was actually a prison, and they had towers, and I knew that they would see me if I was speeding. So I was actually going as fast as I could safely go through the area. It was supposed to be like 45 miles per hour, and I think I was going 65 or something. I was going as swiftly as I could pass through there, in hopes that someone would, a policeman would stop me and could pick me up and get me to the hospital. But that's not the way it was. I got to the hospital, and literally in high heels, okay, stilettos, I got out of the car, and I literally crawled on my hands and knees to get inside because I was in so much pain I couldn't stand up. So as I'm zipping past, and I get to the hospital, and I'm able to crawl out of the car and crawl into the emergency room, they pick me up off the ground and put me in a gurney and take me off. Well, what they found was that I did have a rather large kidney stone, actually, that had gotten stuck in the ureters. And those are the two tubes that go from the kidney down to the bladder. It had gotten stuck. And so they said there wasn't any way to get it out. I mean, I couldn't pee it out or anything. So, they were going to have to go in and pull it out with this thing that would grab the stone, and it would pull it through the ureter down through into the bladder. So, there wasn't anything else I could do except for to do that. I called my husband and told him. Called Grumpy and said, what was going on. And so he stopped his work, and he came, he took the kids to my mother-in-law, and he came on really quick to be with me. And so we get there. The next day is Sabbath. They had so many already scheduled surgeries. There wasn't anything else they could do except for take me in on Sabbath, because, I couldn't live like that with it just stuck there. So anyway, they take me through, into surgery, they pull it out, and then they take me to the recovery. Now, they did not test me for anything. And so, unbeknownst to me and to them, I had something called acetylcholinesterase deficiency, which means that my liver does not process anesthesia quite the same way as everybody else's liver does. And so they get me into recovery, and I'm not coming to. Now, what they don't know is that I can hear everything they're saying. I can't open my eyes. I try as hard as I can. I can't. And so the drug they had given me to relax my body and to keep me from being able to move was called succinylcholine. And when they gave it to me, they didn't realize what it could do to me. Back in the day, long time ago, whenever they first started doing all this kind of stuff and giving anesthesia and things, a lot of people would go into surgery, and when they come out, and they would die because they couldn't come out of the anesthesia they had in their body because of this very thing called acetylcholinesterase deficiency. And they get me in there, and I can feel him put a pencil in the corner of, like the crook of your hand here. I can feel him put it in there between my thumb and my pink, not my pinky, but my pointer finger. And I could feel it, but I couldn't grab it. And I could hear him talking to me. And I was becoming very extremely scared, if you can imagine, because I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, I couldn't tell him anything. All I could do was pray. So I started to pray. Now, the situation I was in at that time was my life. I had had 3 years where I was very, very angry with two men that I knew. These men had caused a lot of pain and anguish to both of their families, and I was just really, really just undone. So, not that that was right, but that's the way it was at that point in my life. And so I called on the Lord, and I told him, I said, God, they can't hear me. I can't tell them that I am okay inside. My head is fine. I just can't grab anything. I can't do anything to help myself. And he was talking about, the nurses were saying, well, should we go ahead and undo all of her life support systems and everything that she had in the surgery? He says, no, not yet. He says, wait. He said, send a blood sample down to the lab and let's have her tested for acetylcholinesterase deficiency. Something's wrong because she should have already come to a long time ago. She hasn't. And so as they have this run, I can still hear everything going on in the room. And they're talking about, they don't understand what's wrong, why I haven't come to. Doesn't make a lot of sense. I can't grab anything. And I'm just sitting there talking to myself thinking, I wish you could hear me. I wish you could hear me. I wish I could speak. And I'm pleading with God. And what I tell him is this, is Lord, I know for the last 3 years I've really had a hard time, and I haven't given up on you. I've just had a hard time. And I need your help because I can't help myself. And that's the way it is with Jesus all the time. We really can't help ourselves at all. If we do things that we hate, sins that we hate, we can't stop it. It's like an alcoholic. An alcoholic can't stop theirself. But Jesus can do all things. And so I pleaded and told him, I said, please, I promise you with all my heart that I will come out of this stupor with about these 3 men. But if I die on this table, and which that was a big possibility. If I die, not only is my husband going to be left in shock and chaos, but my 4 little children, who knows how things will fare with everybody. And I love them all, but I love you most. And so please, if you will please just save me, keep me alive. I promise when I come out of all of this, I will return to you 100%. And I have done that. I've lived up to that. Now, 100%, I can't say that, but I did return to him. And through time, I'm returning 100%. It takes a lifetime of sanctification to become 100%. But so, the lab test came back and it showed that indeed, I did have acetylcholinesterase deficiency, and that most likely I was alive. I was even speaking in my head, but I couldn't speak to them, that he needed to give me the antidote for it. And so he started talking to me, and he started saying, Lynn, he said, we know you're fine, and we know that you can hear us, but we need to give you an antidote because you have acetylcholinesterase deficiency. And your liver is not processing the anesthesia right. So we're going to give you the antidote right now. It's going to take you a little bit of time. Once the antidote takes effect, you'll be fine. So don't be scared. Just relax. So I continue to keep praying and asking God, please, I thank you for what you're going to do, Within the hour, I was fine. And they wheeled me back to my room. I was awake. I could talk, and everything came back very slowly. I could open my eyes before I could speak, and I couldn't move anything. It still took me. By the time the hour was over, I was able to remove everything and talk and see and everything. But when we got back to the room, and the doctor came in to tell my husband how things went, and that they did have the stone, he had it in a little medicine bottle, and he said. He said, I just want you to know that we about lost your wife because she has something called pseudocholinesterase deficiency. And her liver does not process anesthesia correctly. So she needs to have a one of those bracelets that you can put on your wrist that it's a medical bracelet. She needs to have something like that, or either a necklace that she has this, so that if she's in a car accident or anything and has to have surgery, they will know not to give her succinylcholine and that she has this problem. So any of those kind of drugs could cause her grief. So anyway, I got okay. Things were all right. Flash forward years, and my mother had a massive heart attack. We were all called to Salisbury, North Carolina, which is where I grew up. And she was in the hospital down in Cabarrus County, at the Cabarrus County Hospital, and which is down in Concord and Kannapolis area. And so I went there with my husband and kids, and her sibling, her only sister, and her husband and her daughters were there. We were all taken into a room, and we were told about what was going on with my mother. My mother weighed a lot, and she was a 50% chance candidate for what they needed to do in order to save her life, if she was even going to live through the surgery. And she had a mitral valve that had gone kaput, and they needed to replace it with a mitral valve. And so they said that they couldn't do it unless they had the permission of the family. They needed us to know. Thankfully, her doctor, her surgeon, was a Christian. And, excuse me, thank goodness her doctor was a Christian, her surgeon. And he actually said to us, her surgeon was a Christian, thankfully, and he said to us, all of us in the same room, he said, she needs this mitral valve changed, and then she needs to also have a, it's when they reroute the valve, not the valves, but the veins in the heart, because they're blocked 100%. She had to have a triple bypass, that's what it was. She had to have a triple bypass. They were going to use the veins that were in the back of her leg to replace it. And so they asked us if they could have our permission, but he said he had prayed about it and that he felt like she would survive. That was what he was getting from God. And but he wanted to make sure that we understood what we were up against, that it was a 50-50 chance for her to live through the surgery. And so we all prayed, and we said, go for it, because elsewise she will die. And at least this gives her the opportunity to live. It'll be up to God. We're putting her in his hands. So I continued to pray because in my mind, I remember this pseudocholinesterase deficiency, and it is a hereditary thing, and I didn't know which parent I had received it from. And so anyhow, as time went by, it was a few days, till she would come to. 11 days go past, and she still hasn't woken up. And so they are assuming the worst. They do some tests, and they think that they know what's wrong with her, that she's brain dead. My dad calls me, and he calls me kind of late in the evening, and he says, it's on the 10th day, and he said, Lynn, he said, I have a decision to make, and he says, I'm struggling with it. He said, because I don't know what to do, and I don't know what the right thing is to do. And I said, well, what is it? And he said, they want to pull the plug on your mom. Now, if they take this away from her, she will die. And he said, but he said, I don't know that that's the right thing to do. And I said, don't do it. Don't do it. I said, give me 24 hours to pray for her. Or just give me till morning. If you just give me till 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, let me pray all night. So that's what I did. I literally prayed all night long. I mean, there might have been a couple times when I dozed a little bit, but pretty much I prayed all night long and I asked God, I said, please, she's gone through all of this. Give her a little bit more time. And that's what he did do. The next morning, as I continued to pray at approximately 5 o'clock, between 5 and 5:30, I actually fell asleep. And at 6 o'clock, I got a phone call. And my daddy said that she had woken up. And I said, well, when did she wake up? He said, about an hour ago. So the time when I fell asleep was when she woke up. And I was so bowled over. I told him what I had done and how things had gone, and that it was God, it was Him. It has nothing to do with me. It's not because I prayed. It's because Jesus had me to pray. He's the one who put it on my heart to pray for her, to struggle through the night, to plead for her life so that she could have a little more time with us. And she did. She had 3 more years after that, and she should have had another mitral valve repair job, and she would have done much better the next time because she did. She lost about 100 pounds that year between those 3 years, and she would have fared much better to have it, but they didn't tell us that. She was expendable. She was 68 years old, and they don't care. They don't care whether or not, when they start to get old, it doesn't matter. So all of you out there, you need to stay in as good a condition as you can. So all of y'all out there, you need to stay in as good a condition as you can because the doctors don't care. Now, that's not to say all doctors, but some doctors, they don't. They do think that the elderly are expendable. We're not. We have lots of wisdom. We have lots of wisdom to give to the young and to the age cripple most of the doctors. So, are we doctors? No, but we have wisdom of other things that we can give them. So anyway, these are the prayers I wanted to share with you that got answered because my mother did get to live a little bit longer, and she did come through. The Lord was gracious. He was very, very gracious and kind. Just remember that Jesus loves you. He has an everlasting love for you, and He is long-suffering with all of us. He cares about us deeply. He cares about every facet of our life. There is nothing that He doesn't care about in our lives. And the Lord loves you, and so do I, and so does Grumpy. We thank you for spending a little bit of time with us. We hope this helps your life and that it pushes you a little bit forward in inspiration that He's there for you. He cares for you. We love you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.